past couple of years, I've been lucky enough to spend some time with the Polestar 2, which was one of my favourite early EVs, and also the Polestar 3, which just felt like the 2 but more grown up. Both are minimalist focused and they feel mature and cohesive. But today I'm getting behind the wheel of the final member of the current Swedish trio. Of course, it's the Polestar 4. Now this sits between the 2 and the 3 in both size and price. It starts from just under £60,000 in the UK, but this car comes in at just under £63,000, and I think it's the one that takes the biggest amount of risks. There's no rear window. It reimagines the SUV coupe concept from the ground up, and in its dual motor form, it's the fastest production Polestar to date. But this is the long-range single motor. This is supposedly the sensible one, and I'll be honest, from the outset, this is the first Polestar that I haven't immediately gelled with. Let's explore why. Hi guys, I'm Tish and welcome back to my channel Auto Social UK. Now in today's video, I'm going to be telling you all things Polestar 4. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching, and if you do like new car reviews and car content like this one, then make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Personally, I think this is the model that makes the most sense. So underneath this single motor version, it uses a 100 kilowatt hour battery, which 94 kilowatts is usable. So she's a big girl. And even on this least powerful model, it produces 272 horsepower and 343 newton meters of torque. And that's sending powers to the rear wheels. 0 to 62 takes just 7.1 seconds with a top speed of 124 miles per hour. So this is anything but slow. Range is where this car really impresses. It gets up to 385 miles of WLTP, and on paper that's very competitive. So it's definitely strong range, sensible performance, rear-wheel drive balance, which I think is the rational choice in this lineup. But let's take a pause on something for a second. Because let's face it, whether you're spending £60,000 on a standard Polestar 4 or nearly £70,000 on this one here once you've added on some optional extras, it's a serious financial commitment. And EV values, especially in the last few years, well, we know they can move around quite a bit. And that's exactly why I always like to talk about gap insurance on cars like this. ALA specialise in gap insurance, so they cover the difference between your insurer's payout and either what you originally paid for the car or what you still owe on finance, and that can really help with the cost of replacing like for like. So if you are considering something like a Polestar 4 or any new EV or actually any new car, then I've got a 10% discount with my code TISH10. I'll pop all the details in the description box down below. Right, let's jump back into the video, get behind the wheel, and I'll tell you how it actually drives in the real world. On the road, the first thing you notice is the refinement. Regardless of how bad our UK roads are at the moment, it feels quiet and it remains unfazed. The 50-50 weight distribution suggests balance, and actually the rear-wheel drive suggests playfulness. But with a curb weight of 2,230 kilograms, this is not a light car. Through the tighter bends, you can feel that mass. It doesn't feel clumsy, but it does feel substantial. The steering, however, is accurate and well weighted, but it doesn't have much texture. There isn't a great deal of feedback through the steering wheel, which I wasn't really expecting. In fact, this car drives just as I did expect it to. Ride quality on these passive dampeners are generally controlled. It deals well with motorway undulations and it feels planted at speed. On rougher British B roads, however, there can be a slight firm vertical movement over sharper imperfections. Now, I'm not saying that this car is uncomfortable, but it's not especially supple either, which has surprised me a little bit. But that's my overall takeaway dynamically. It's competent rather than compelling. I've never found myself seeking out a good road in it, but it's been perfect for the week that I've had going up and down the M25, which is probably actually a familiar stomping ground for these fours. They're likely going to be company cars, and for that, they make complete sense. I mean, come on. If you start to look a bit tired, the car actually steps in and it gives you a little bit of a massage, which is nice the first time, but it does get a little bit offensive after the 5th time of telling you that you look tired. Visually, the Polestar 4 is bold. It's missing the rear window, and that's not just a gimmick. So it actually fundamentally changes the architecture of the car. So it allows Polestar to push the roofline further back, and that improves headroom. It's clever packaging, but aesthetically, well, it creates a very solid rear mass. From some angles, especially the rear 3/4, it can look slightly slab-sided and heavy. There's a faintly haunched posture to it. It doesn't look like a cohesive piece of design, which I really wanted to. It doesn't look like a flowing roofline. But in terms of design, they are going bold, but has it paid off? The front though? Well, I think it looks excellent from this angle. You get the dual blade lighting signature and illuminated Polestar badge, which actually on this car I quite like. This is a big car, nearly 5 meters in length, and it rides on nearly a 3-meter wheelbase. It has presence. It's also super wide, so it's just over 2 meters, including the mirrors. Aerodynamically, however, it's impressive. So it has a drag coefficient of just 0.261. So the shape isn't just styling theatre, it's efficiency driven, and I admire the bravery. And I actually think compared to both the 3 and the 2, this has just been dialed up. It's got a sleeker presence. And from this angle, I actually really like it. Stepping inside of the Polestar 4 and you're greeted with a familiar Polestar interior. Of course, this cabin is dominated by screens. You've got this super large, almost tablet-shaped screen in the centre here, and this controls almost all of the car's functions, and I know that people don't like that. But Polestar has tried to find ways that they can make it slightly easier. For instance, you have lots of shortcuts everywhere. You have shortcuts on the steering wheel for things like your drive modes, and then you have shortcuts by pulling down on the touchscreen, and tons of shortcuts along the bottom. And if those shortcuts don't work, you can also use your Google system, which works incredibly well. Also want to talk about safety. So it may come as no surprise that the Polestar 4 did receive the full 5-star Euro NCAP rating, and it also got 92% for the adult occupancy test, which is really impressive. It comes with a whole host of cameras, there's radar sensors, you've got sensors that watch you when you're driving, which I don't particularly like, but they are here to keep us safe. And there's also almost a full driverless system. Of course, in the UK, the only people who can do driverless, strangely, is Ford. So you do have to still have your hands on the steering wheel, but it will kind of keep you within the lane. It'll also keep your speed and distance to the person in front, and it works very well. Although because we have to keep our hands on the steering wheel, it feels a bit pulley and it's a bit unnatural. But also cameras. Of course, instead of a standard rear view camera, we've got this. And Polestar says that this is supposed to be incredibly crisp and clear, almost like using your eyes. That's not really what I've found. This does get distorted if the camera gets a little bit dirty, or if it's frosty especially, you will find the lights will blow out in your rear view mirror, which is not what you want. And I just don't find myself relaxing using this. My brain just doesn't really believe it because it is a camera. I haven't found it to be awkward, and it does kind of tilt depending on what you want to do. And some people say they want to see what's going on in the back seats, and you can flip it and then you can have it as a camera and then you can see into the back seats, but it's pretty dark back there, so you're not going to see very much. It's not my favourite Polestar cabin, but I do like it. I love these seats. So these actually feel really sporty, and mixed with these seat belts with the stripes of yellow, those feel really nice. Look, matching together with the ambient lighting around the cabin, like that. And also these are, I believe, used from recycled matter. They feel super high quality. These feel like proper leather. And then you've got this almost in between, like, I think it's almost like a scuba material down the centre. That all feels lovely. Everything's tucked away. It's all neat and tidy and Scandinavian. I don't really like this wireless charging pad. If I pop my phone in it now, it does slide around and I can never see if it's actually charging. So I just have to trust that it's charging. And also, if you accelerate hard, it comes out of the charging pad. So they've really not thought about that. You've got a physical volume control, which you've got here. I like that, but if you're going to put a control in the centre, why couldn't that just be a scroller for the screen? That would have been brilliant. You've got loads of storage, so plenty of storage inside this armrest. That's where you'll find your chargers. And you've got cup holders behind this scroller here. And you've also, look, got plenty of storage underneath here. I wish this wasn't plastic down here. I know we don't see it, but when you're driving a car which is kind of over that £50,000, £60,000 mark, I would have liked more premium materials everywhere in the cabin. And speaking of that, you've almost got this kind of like speaker material. I've seen some people say that they like this, but personally it's not my taste. So it's not my favourite Polestar cabin, but that being said, it is still very palatable. So arguably, this is the area that the whole Polestar 4 has been designed around. That no rear window, that's to give you extra headroom, and it really has worked, and it feels so bright and airy in here. Now, of course, I'm filming it, well, it's nearly 5 p.m, so it's not exactly showcasing it, but I'm just surrounded by light. This panoramic sunroof just feels so premium and so luxurious for rear seat passengers. I've also got an enormous amount of legroom. I've also got a pull down armrest. Pull that down and you have a lovely kind of like pop out, where is it? The buttons on the side. Didn't even know it had that. Very luxurious. This feels like a proper executive car. So pull that armrest down, and what I thought was going to be my hidden cup holders is actually the ability to move the back seats forwards and backwards. You have got a couple of ISOFIX fitments back here. You also have a screen for your rear seat ventilation. Everything just hints that this is not just your average family car. This is a luxury rear seat design. So things have really been thought out when it comes to this rear, which I'm really pleased to see. And what about boot space? Well, firstly, you have to find the boot release. You can use the key, or you can also open it from the front, or if you get the app on your phone, you can do it that way as well. But there is a button and it's a little bit hidden. Luckily, unlike the Polestar 2, it's not down low and you won't get mucky fingers from all the dirt on the road. It's just built there into the rear light bar. I actually quite like that. It's nice and kind of clean. So press that, and you will electrically open the boot. So inside of this boot, you get 526 litres, which is a pretty decent amount. Now, it is a shame that there isn't a flat load area, but you do get this metal part here, so you shouldn't scratch up the boot if you're loading in heavy items, but there's plenty of space in there. This has been my workhorse this week. I went away for 6 nights and I packed for 5 days and it just swallowed it. In fact, I had tons of more space. You also have an adjustable boot floor, which has more storage underneath, and then you've got like a plastic cubby hole underneath that, so you can put your charging cables in there, so if they're dirty, they're not going to make the rest of the boot dirty. And there is also 15 litres which is underneath the bonnet as well, so a really practical amount of storage space. You've got a couple of like netted cubby holes. You've also got a couple of tether down points, a 12-volt charging. I wouldn't say it's as impressive as some earlier Volvos. I'm really noticing all of those really handy Volvo features that they used to have just evaporating nowadays, and that's a real shame. I do like it, I just think it could have been even better. At nearly £60,000, this car was already expensive, but at nearly £70,000 as tested, it enters a new conversation. The Porsche Macan Electric that I've recently driven, that did feel sharper dynamically, and it also just overall felt like a more premium car. And of course, you've got the Tesla Model Y, which offers strong performance, and let's not mention that charging network. The Polestar 4, however, does counter that with distinctive design, strong sustainability credentials, and impressive range and rear space. But I just don't think the dynamic benchmark is in this class, and at this price point that really matters. The Polestar 4 is brave, it pushes design boundaries, it prioritises comfort and feels well built, safe and thoroughly engineered, but it just doesn't have that connection with me in the way that the Polestar 3 did. It's not flawed, I just don't think it's captivating, and in this segment, at this money, emotional connection is really going to count. But let me know what you think down below. What would you go for? A Polestar 4? Would you have a Porsche Macan? Would you have a Tesla Model Y? Or would you have something else? Let me know all of your thoughts down below. I really hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, then make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Until next time, guys, see you later.